materials were also snagged. And in wards 1, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 10 of Ahoda West local government area of Rivers State, electoral materials were also snatched and carried away. Presence of armed forces. Our observers reported the presence of different security agents, including the Nigerian Armed Forces, during the elections. The presence of Nigerian Armed Forces were most visible in some states, in South-South, that is Akwa Ibom and Rivers State, in Southeast in Abia State, and non-central, including Plateau, Benue, and Kwara. In some places, their presence raised different security concerns. For example, in Gokana, Oyibo, Degema, Emoha, Ogbolo, Okrika, Kana, Ubiapo, Eche, Akukutori local government areas of Rivers State, security personnel in military uniform were allegedly involved in sporadic shooting, voter intimidation, killing and cutting away of electoral materials. In addition, observers reported that they were denied access into collection centers by armed men in military uniform, mostly in Rivers and Akwa Ibom states. In Iwayam Ward, Awaji, Konshisha local government in Benue State, observers also reported that armed security personnel were seen aiding politicians in compromising the electoral process. Harassment of observers and voters. At polling unit 002, Ward 11, Etak, Ekom local government area of Akwa Ibom State, party agents and political talks intimidated and threatened observers and journalists in the government area of Rivers State. In addition, the mobile device used by the Cleen Foundation observer deployed to Obiapo local government area, Ward 5, polling unit 30, was smashed by armed men in military uniform, and the memory card was removed as he attempted to record an incident of electoral material in the polling unit. Arrival of security personnel at the polling unit. Cleen Foundation observed that 77% of security personnel arrived at the polling units across the country before 8 a.m., while 16% arrived between 8 a.m. and 8:59 a.m., and that 5% arrived from 9 a.m. or later. However, during the presidential and national assembly elections, our observers reported that 65% of security personnel deployed for election duty arrived before 8 a.m. So, compared to the governorship and houses of assembly elections, we know there's a significant improvement of the punctuality of security personnel polling units. For example, North local government area of Abia State, security personnel were armed inside the polling area. During the presidential and national assembly elections, 13% of the security agents deployed for election duty bore arms at the polling units. This shows a marginal decrease in the number of security personnel who were armed at the polling units. Adequacy of security personnel at the polling unit. Cleen Foundation observed that on an aggregate, 68% of the polling units had 2 or more security personnel on ground, while 31% of the polling units had 1 security personnel on ground. However, during the presidential and national assembly elections, 70% of the polling units had 2 or more security agents, while polling units with just 1 security officer was 27%. Identification of security personnel. Cleen Foundation observed that 94% of security personnel are 94% of security personnel were wearing easily identifiable name tags. However, 4% of security personnel were not wearing identifiable name tags at all. However, during the presidential and national assembly elections, 92% of the security personnel were wearing easily identifiable tags, and 6% were not wearing easily identifiable name tags. In terms of approachability of security personnel, the security personnel on election duty were observed to be approachable. Reports from our field observers show that 94% of security personnel at the polling units were approachable. 4% were observed to be somewhat approachable, while 2% of security personnel were not approachable at all. There was no significant difference between the data obtained during the presidential election and the National Assembly elections and the one we obtained during the governorship and state houses of assembly. In terms of impartiality of security personnel at the polling unit, statistics available to Cleen Foundation shows that 93% of security personnel were impartial, while 1% of the security agents were somewhat partial. The status of impartiality of 5% of the security personnel was not determined by those who observed them at the various polling units where they were deployed. General observations. In terms of safety at the polling units, Cleen Foundation observers observed that 89% of the polling units were safe and secure, while 9% were observed to be somewhat safe and secure. From our observations, actually, what we have noticed is that most of the polling units are relatively safe. Where the problems begin to take place is towards the collection of when the votes end, the counting begins, and then the movement of material from the voting units to the wards for collection to begin. That is where we have noticed a lot of challenges, and I think it's something that the INEC will have to look at again, the process of collation. The collation has become a sore point in our election process. So these are our general observations from all that we have observed during this election. Voter intimidation. In Ebonyi State, specifically in our to vote for a particular political party, in addition to widespread vote buying or inducement. Similarly, a party agent was forced to leave the polling unit entirely. In Ondo State, at Ward 007 polling unit 018, Ondo West local government area of Ondo State, party talks dragged the voting council and insisted that anyone not voting for a particular party should leave the polling unit. Voter apathy. Generally, Cleen Foundation observers observed low turnout of votes across the polling units compared to the presidential and national assembly elections 2 weeks ago. Specifically, at polling units 011 Custom Quarters, Karosite, Abuja, there was low voter turnout. In fact, almost all the states in the Federation experienced low voter turnout during the election that was just completed yesterday. Deployment of INEC officials. The deployment of INEC personnel for the governorship and National Assembly elections indicates an improvement from the presidential and National Assembly elections. Cleen observed that the earlier arrival and setting up of polling units across the country. Cleen Foundation observes the issue of poor welfare of core members. For example, at polling unit 026 Ojubi, Ward B, Lagos State, INEC ad hoc personnel reportedly refused to go to the polling unit on the allegation that they were not paid. This was also observed in several polling units across the state, including Ojubi, Ojota, and Maryland area of Lagos. Card reader issues. Cleen Foundation observed increased performance of card readers across the country. Cleen only observed few incidents of non-performance of card readers, such as Community Primary School, Alosekere, Owodede, Ede North, Osun State, as well as Shomolu and Alimosho local government areas in Lagos State. However, the issues were resolved by INEC and voting continued in the respective polling units. In my own personal experience, the card reader recognized my PVC, but my fingerprint was not captured. I had to print the voter's card and voter's register and then put my phone number there as established by INEC guidelines. So the card reader is still a work in progress. We noticed a lot of vote trading, so I'm discussing vote trading now. Cleen Foundation observed incidents of vote trading across the country. Vote trading involves vote buying and selling. In some states like Ekiti and Lagos states, it was done discreetly, while in some states it was open and public knowledge. Observer noted cases of vote trading in Ebonyi State, that is Omuku local government, Enugu State, Niger State, Imo State, Kwara State. It was also recorded in Kogi State, especially in Muslim community secondary school, Lokoja. In addition, observers also noted cases of vote trading at polling unit 3 Makode Ward, Rimi, local government area, Makoda, sorry, local government area of Katsina State. In addition, in Puli Unit 007 Comprehensive Secondary School, Amakoyo North, there were incidences of vote trading. Furthermore, in Makodi, Benue State, EFCC officials, that's the Economic Financial Crimes Commission, intercepted a busload of money suspected to be monies meant for vote trading. Votes were traded at different amounts. In fact, what we had is that the governorship election was now cheaper than that of the presidential election. And some people refused to go to the land until they were paid, arguing that the governorship should actually be more expensive than the presidential. It's very unfortunate. Underage voting. There were cases of underage voting observed by our observers. For example, in Puli Unit 006, what Nasarawa Katagum Zaki local government area of Bauchi State, underage voters were present. Conclusion. The 2019 general elections, despite the unfortunate cases of violence leading to the death of some citizens, can be regarded as another important step in Nigeria's experience with democracy. It is, however, disturbing that we are yet to have a violence-free election. The reports of violence raise great concerns and demands for critical intervention to stop the trend. Elections must be devoid of violence for democracy to continue to grow and flourish. We commend the majority of Nigerians that have demonstrated commitment to the electoral process by going out to vote and largely conducted themselves in a peaceful manner. The Election Security Support Center of Cleen Foundation finds it imperative to call on the federal and state governments, the security agencies, civil society organizations, and all well-meaning Nigerian citizens to think of measures that need to be put in place to ensure the conduct of free, fair, and violent-free elections in Nigeria. We cannot continue to have violence featuring in our elections at all levels of government. It is disturbing that Rivers State has continued to experience violence in almost all elections in Nigeria. In fact, as we speak, the election in Rivers State has been suspended till further notice because of widespread of violence. We just received the information from INEC. We call upon the traditional and religious leaders, political leaders, business people and professionals, civil society leaders, and government, including the media, to come together and find lasting solutions to violence that mark elections in not only in Rivers State but in different parts of Nigeria. Rivers State is only a sad example of what happens in other places during elections. The country as a whole, therefore, needs to take a serious view of election violence with a view to bringing it to an end. It is our candid view that if politicians do not become desperate in their quest for power, the level of violence signing peace accords. It is very worrying. It is very worrying development that requires a serious soul searching on this persistent but unhealthy culture of electoral violence. Widespread insecurity in the country negatively affected the elections. It led to deployment of the military in policing elections with adverse implications for unfettered participation of the electorates. Deployment of the military for election duties also resulted from the desperation and conduct of politicians who sponsor electoral violence, hire thugs, and promote inter-ethnic and inter-religion intolerance and hatred. Government should introduce and implement programs for political culture, the orientation of citizens, especially politicians, to internalize the values and norms of democratic politics, elections, and governance. And I think in conclusion, it is important to reiterate the fact that the election is a civil process. But unfortunately, in Nigeria, we have turned it to become